I hope your day will be as awesome as this couple. TIFU by giggling when someone asked me why their debit card kept declining. For context, I'm a bank teller at one of the biggest banks in the US. This is also by far the highest paying job I've ever had, as I only just graduated high school. This dude who looked to be on the older side came in, and he wanted to know why his debit card kept declining. So I pulled up his account history and there was literally pages upon pages of online purchases. The gag? Every single one of the purchases was OnlyFans. I guess that he subscribed to many pages, and the craziest part was that they were over the last few days directly after he got paid, so he got a bunch of money then blew it all on OnlyFans subscriptions. When I saw the account history I pretended to cough because I had the biggest urge to laugh, but I managed to hold it in. I asked him if he had online banking or if he'd managed to look at his account history recently, and he said no. I offered to print it out for him and he said yes please. When I handed the printouts to him, he just said ah, and I came so close to laughing again, but I managed to hold it in and be professional. Then I asked if he made those purchases and he just dejectedly said yes, and I giggled. I couldn't help it. He gave me this weird look and left. Afterwards I had to excuse myself to the bathroom and laughed it all out of my system. I guess he called in to complain because after I came from my lunch break my manager called me into his office and now we've scheduled a call for our tomorrow. I'm probably pretty ducked. TLDR. Laughed at a guy when I saw his bank account history was full of OnlyFans subscriptions and I'm probably gonna lose my job for it. Update. Wow, thanks a lot for all your really nice messages. I just got done meeting with ours and I did exactly what you guys said. I took full responsibility for what happened. My manager asked why it was funny and I explained what OnlyFans is, and the our lady burst into laughter. They just let me off with a verbal warning and they said they appreciate the fact that I took responsibility, but that I should try better control my laughter next time, which is definitely fair enough. If you lose your job, you can comfort yourself with the knowledge that at least you have enough intelligence and impulse control to not spend all your remaining money on porn. Really? Because if he loses his job he can at least comfort himself with OnlyFans. For a minute anyways. Then he can comfort himself with his own OnlyFans, but I'm sure dudes have to do bud stuff. This kind of reminds me of the guy who worked in the pet store who lost it when someone wanted to return the cat they bought because it didn't listen to him. I had a lady use half a box of tampons and try to get a full refund because they were the wrong size. Screamed at me for starving her kids when I said no. That shit might have worked on a male employee. IDK. I had a woman return used but not broken flip-flops, no receipt, and off season by years. I could tell the year they were or sold by the item code imprinted on them. I could only give her the current value, per store policy, 17 cents. She took it. Working at a telecommunications company, I have had the pleasure, once, to read out adult titles to a parent, to explain to them their son ordered which VOD titles. At the end, he said something along the lines of at least I know he isn't gay. TIFU by letting my son take my wife's menstrual cup for show and tell. My wife is working out of town for a couple weeks. Sometime over the weekend I noticed my son playing with this little silicone cup that kinda looked like a tulip. I asked him what it went to and what it did, and he proceeded to show me its versatility. Over the next few days it helped the Paw Patrol save a town. It was a treasure chest holding tiny pebbles guarded by pirates, a force field protecting a spaceship. It came with us to the park, grocery shopping, and even out to dinner one night. I loved that it had its own little satchel, and assumed it just went to a playset. Fast forward to this morning, and as we are getting ready for school Alexa reminds us that it's show and tell today at school. So my son grabs his little silicone cup and off to school he goes. I pick him up after school and his teacher asks to speak with me. My son looks happy, so I figure he's not in trouble, or if he is in trouble he did something cheeky that he's proud of. Our conversation. Teacher, Ben's show and tell was interesting. Me, yay. It's cool right? We've been playing with that thing for days. Teacher, Mr. Scott, do you know what that is? I start to panic. Oh shut, it's not a toy. Teacher, that is a menstrual cup. I get confused. Teacher notes my confusion. It's used to collect menstrual blood. I'm still confused. Teacher, it goes inside and collects blood. Me, it just stays in there? She nods. Me, are you sure? I don't think that would fit too comfortably there. Teacher, oh, it folds in half then springs open inside. We are both clearly uncomfortable. Me, alright then, so where do I get a replacement? Because my wife will probably not be too pleased when she returns home and will not want to continue using this one. My wife laughed hysterically when we told her. My son is none the wiser and is having a tea party with the cup right now. TLDR thought my wife's menstrual cup was a toy and my son and I played with it all weekend, then he took it for show and tell. No harm done, since it sounds like you both had a bloody good time. Period. For a couple days too. He'll forget about it for a month. This is awesome. When we were little, my brother and found my dad's condoms, and we spent an afternoon on the front lawn playing with them. Worst water balloons ever. And why are they individually wrapped? My two older boys, who were 9 and 6 at the time, were with a sitter for an evening, so my husband and I could have a date night, and went rummaging through my dresser drawers. They each found a colorful dildo and proceeded to have what they called a floppy lightsaber fight. The sitter told me she heard them laughing really loud and went to check on them, and they were hitting each other with them and just cracking up. One of the kids accidentally turned one on and it started to vibrate, so he held it up to his face and say how funny it felt. Then he asked the sitter if she wanted to try. She politely declined and told them to go wash up for dinner while she put the toys away. Surprisingly, she babysat for us multiple times after that. TIFU from removing my menstrual cup in front of my boyfriend. For those of you who don't know, a menstrual cup is a soft and flexible medical grade silicone cup that you can leave in for up to 12 hours to collect the period blood and pour out. As you can imagine, a full cup has a fair amount of blood. This is important for later. This morning at 5 AM, I felt the need to go to the toilet. I noticed that a little blood had spilled out, so I knew it was over time to empty my cup. This usually doesn't happen to me, but I guess overnight I had more blood than usual. Groggy at 5 AM with the lights off, I take my cup out and dump it into the toilet. It was messy, and I finally discovered that I had an accident with how much blood came out. I chucked my cup in the sink next to me ready to clean everything up, but at this moment, my boyfriend peeks into the bathroom to see if I'm okay and what I'm doing awake. From his perspective, he just sees blood all over my hands and in the sink. The lights were off and he just can see me from the flash on my phone. It looked like a horror scene. He freaked out and fainted at the door. Me, being concerned without thought, jumped up to aid my boyfriend who had just collapsed on the floor without a second thought. I then instantly realized I had blood all over my hands and now all over him and the floor. He wakes up a moment later, freaking out not knowing why there is blood everywhere. I explained it to him and was left with a shocked boyfriend and a literal bloody mess I had to clean up at 5 AM. TLDR, I emptied my period cup in the dark at 5 AM and my boyfriend thought the blood on my hands was from some horror injury and fainted. Oh wow, menstrual cups are a trip. This reminds me of a similar story that happened to me a few years ago. I was on the first and heaviest day of my period and went out for a few drinks that night. A few drinks turned into a few more and my partner and I came back pretty drunk. We both passed out in bed and I'd forgot to empty my cup. I realized my horrific mistake the next morning when I woke up to a literal pool of blood cupped between my legs. Tossing and turning during the night, there was a fair bit on my partner's legs too. I got up to go clean up, but the cup had overflowed so much that the blood flowed down my leg, leaving literal bloody footprints leading into the bathroom. I guess in the bathroom I made too many noises of frustration as I cleaned up the bloodbath. As my partner was roused, looked down at the bloody sheets and his bloody self, saw literal horror movie footprints leading out of my bedroom, and me groaning in the bathroom. He runs out to see what happens, slips on a footprint, slides into the door frame, and sees me washing blood from my hands, still with streaks of blood down my legs. Menstrual cups are wonderful. Better protection, more environmentally thoughtful. But damn, remember to empty them out when you get home from a night on the beer.